Hey, friends, y'all ready?
You got a medal.
Got my medal.
Put that bad boy on.
And I got that bah!
Oh, yeah.
A big old head on that cat.
It's a big head. Where'd those traps go, Mark Ingram?
No neck Ingram.
Light it.
Dude, like you're having a spasm over there, Mark, with that dancing.
Light it.
What they don't see is the drum work that you do before the song hits. Hey, welcome back. The Triple Option is here with you. We are presented by Wendy's. Try Wendy's new Frosty Fusions with flavors like Caramel Crunch, Oreo Brownie, and Pop-Tart Strawberry. So glad you're here with us. Rob Stone, Urban Meyer, Mark Ingram II. Deuce, as always, thanks for joining us. Remember, rate, subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. You can find us on social media at 3X Option Show. New episodes typically come your way every Wednesday. We're a bit of an outlier this week. You can find us on YouTube and, of course, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, here's some of the topics we're going to hit today. Can Notre Dame hit 11 regular season wins again? Rich Rod is back in West Virginia. He joins us for a conversation. And Pittsburgh, yeah, he hasn't forgotten about you. Can't wait to hear what he says about Pitt over there. But first, has college football and their players lost some of their fight? Guys, this is a great quote from and a tweet from Jay Glazer, our partner there at Fox Sports, that kind of puts this conversation in perspective. We were going to hit it anyway. So Jay sent this out the other day. Interesting thing came up in my draft prep calls. For years, teams have pulled players off the board for A, injury concerns, or B, character concerns. Got it, get it, understand it. Makes sense. However, a third category / reason has been added, and most teams I talked to had guys off their board for, quote, doesn't love football. This was the first time it was so prevalent. I asked around why this is, and they thought maybe because of NIL money, guys have already been paid, and some feel they don't need to grind to get paid. So the guys who, capital letters, love football are probably appreciated more. This does sound like another thing that we just want to blame on NIL and blame on the transfer portal. Guess what, Coach? It's kind of been around for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. And Mark, I remember Charlie Strong told me, he was my defense coordinator and great friend at Florida, but we also worked together at Notre Dame. And when I first took the head coaching job at Florida, I remember me and him talking. He says, the difference between a Notre Dame kid and a South Florida or Florida kid is a Notre Dame kid is there for an education. He's there for, a lot of times they come from a well-to-do family and they're, they want a career in the NFL, but you know what? If they don't, they're going to be on Wall Street probably, or they're going to be, they'll have a great career. The guys coming out of the Lake Okeechobee area, Belglade, Pahokee, and Polk County. And he said, these guys are trying to eat.
Yes.
And I looked at him, I was like, damn, I never really looked at it. And boy, is that true.
Yes.
When you got a hunger that's you are in survival mode.
And your family's depending on you.
And I mean, and they know it. And I used to go down there and recruit, and I mean, the hunger, and I'm getting jacked up, the hunger for the love of the game of football, as that's a means to an end. And you know what the means, what the end is, to eat.
Yes.
Where you get another, from a well-to-do family, and this is a mean to make a nice network system down the street, and, in investment banking and I'm not taking a shot at Notre Dame at all. I love Notre Dame, but it's reality. And so when you say the love of the game, we would have these sayings, and I can't wait to see Mark's face on this. So we had these nicknames for players, and the taker and a giver. So if you're an energy taker, that means as a coach, you're spending more time with this player than you are your family. So you're with this player all the time. There is nothing worse than walking on a practice field or in a meeting room with a player that just nothing there. It's a dead fish, man. Let's go. Saying let's go. I used to, enough. I quit saying that. But it's also the same as a coach. If you're a coach and you don't love the game, you're spending, 15 hours a day with that coach during the season? And you walk in the meeting room, we just call them mouth breathers. You know what a mouth breather is? They just sit there and, just like a dead fish on a freaking dot, you know, and then finally,
A koi
so
pond.
you have takers, not givers. You have the
Mouth breathers.
And then the final one, Mark,
I love the mouth breathers.
is the orange eater.
An orange eater.
What's an orange?
Yeah.
This better not be a soccer reference.
All
I'm gonna
right,
be
the
mad,
orange
Coach.
eater is this, Mark. They're the ones that at halftime in the big ass game. Where do they
Eating
go?
oranges at halftime.
They're going. Yeah, they're not playing it down. They have no interest in what's going on. You know, you're over there working with the offense line, and everybody's working. You look over there, and
They're just killing the oranges.
and one of my coaches called them orange eaters. Well, I had to stop the staff meeting for a minute. I was laughing so hard.
Hey,
So-
They have the
man.
orange slices stuck in
Yes.
the mouth.
Oh
like a
yeah,
mouth
I mean they're
guard.
not
Hey,
gonna
remember those
play a
guys, the
freaking
mouth guard
down.
orange peel.
They're not gonna play it down, which is one thing, but they're not gonna play it down and don't care that they're not
don't
gonna
help.
play it down.
And you're eating
Those
all
are
the
the
snacks
oranges.
for the people who are actually
Yeah,
playing
vitamin
down.
C's gone, man.
I love Mark's. I was dying for that one.
Hey, no, but Coach, you're 100% right. Like, you know, there's nothing wrong with having, you know, a well family. Like, we all want that, right? You want to have a well-off family, but that's not the only option for them. When you're talking about these kids that are coming from the trenches, football is really the only option for them to get out, to make a living, to make a better life for their family. It's their only option. It's not the only option, but that's their mindset, is that it is their only option. They're going to school, they're getting an education, so they will have stuff to fall back on. But in their mind, the only option for them to make their family eat, to have a well-off family, to create some wealth for their family, is this pigskin, is this football. And that's what you see, the love of the game, the drive of the game. When stuff isn't going good for you, what are you going to fall back on? It's the love of the game. What is your why? It's my family. And that's what you see with some kids like that, you know, when you talk about the love of the game. And when you say about the draft board, Stoner, like, maybe it wasn't as prevalent in everyone's draft board, the love of the game, but I know the Ravens, they judged that. The Saints, Sean Payton, he judged that. Like,
How do you judge that, though? I mean, that's not a tangible
it's
thing
easy.
that you can put
That's
a clock
Rob.
on. All right, so
Rob,
how
that's
is it so easy?
That's easy. You go first.
sit
of all,
down
you
and
meet
talk
with
with
the
the
staff, and then you sit down and talk to them. But the player can BS you.
Correct.
As a coach, it's easy to see. You jog out on a practice field in 110 heat index, and you know, or you just the day after day with a player. If you love something and that's your way to eat, you can see that hunger in a player. You can also see the distraction or lack of love in something from, and that's any given. What are we talking about? This is not just football.
Correct.
This is real estate. This is attorney.
It's life.
This is a doctor.
This
This
is
is
life.
being a
This
good
is
mother,
family.
father. If you don't love it, you can fake it, but you can only fake it for so long. And
Yeah.
then in the most difficult times, you can't fake that, man.
yes.
Football is
That's
a
when you get
tough,
exposed.
violent, nasty sport. You can't fake that.
Who are some of the hungriest guys that you coach that you played
Oh.
with?
All right. Hunger. I think Mike Thomas was a hungry player. You played with him, man. He was
Yes.
hungry.
Yes.
Janoris
He had that
Jenkins
drive,
was
that love.
hungry.
that love, that
Louis
passion for the
Murphy.
game.
And then, Bosa's came from, they weren't like fighting to eat. You talk about love of the game, the Bosa brothers, their father was a first rounder too, but Nick and Joey Bosa, that was every day. Zeke he was there to eat.
Yeah.
And that was every day. So, and the Pounceys, I could go on and on.
Yeah.
We've always counted that. I'll take a lesser player that loves the game than someone.
You
that's
have
like
to have it.
Freaking, it's a rook can out to coach the guy.
You have to have it because, yes, you can fake the funk when it's all good and when you're winning games and when you're playing well. But when stuff hits the fan, when you have an injury or when you have to compete for playing time, you have to fall back on your love for the game. If you don't truly love the game, if you don't have a desire and a passion to be the best at what you do, when times get difficult, you will be exposed. That's not only in football, that's in corporate America. You said that's real estate. Sometimes the market's up, sometimes the market's down. If you love, are you really willing to grind to go sell that property, to go find the properties that's off market? When you love it, nothing will deter you from it. And if you only do it for conditional reasons, when times get tough, you will be exposed if you don't have a true love or passion and desire for it. Whatever profession you're talking about, football, life, corporate America, real estate, whatever it is, if you don't have a true love for it, there will be some point where you can't fake the fuck no more and you will get exposed.
A unique guy, Mark, and you played against him was Tebow. He had everything going. He had his faith. He had his, it wasn't like he was in survival mode. But he, as I look back, he might have loved the game as much as anybody I coached. I mean,
Yep.
he would spend 12 to, and I tell people that, 12 or more hours a day on the game, whether it be training, whether it be taking care of his body, studying film, and he loved practice, man.
Yeah.
He'd come out there and, pushing the coaches around and throwing, we would have a ball coaching that guy. And the 2 hour, you coach guys like that, 2 hours goes like this. You coach a mouth breather, and it's
an orange peel eater.
Mark, were you Rob? I know what Mark was. Rob,
you better be careful, Coach. You better be careful here, my friend.
Okay, move on.
You coming for me? You coming for me?
No,
let me take my orange peel out. There you get the little citrus stuff stuck in there too, Mark. Every once in a while,
The little
you know
pulp,
what I'm talking about.
The little pulp.
Yeah, that shouldn't be in there. That shouldn't be in there. I was not an orange eater, Coach. I was not a mouth breather.
Educate these folks, Stoner. They don't know about you, man.
I would have been a good special teams dude for
I
you.
love you, Stone.
That guy, maybe we'll throw
you was
him
a beast at what you did,
I would have been your
Stone.
Rudy.
Over there at Colgate.
Hey, that's right, brother. Well, I got my Colgate right over there. There's my Colgate. Hey, Coach.
Tell them what you was doing. You wasn't no mouth breather. You wasn't no orange peel eater.
No mouth breather.
You was a difference maker.
I do have a deviated septum, so it is kind of tough to breathe through the nose. So I do find myself sucking with the mouth every once in a while.
Lord. Oh, Lord.
Mark, what's your favorite day? What's that song you sing when we're at
Friday, dun, 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 and I'm gonna party and get my groove on,
So that's Mark's favorite day. My favorite day is Saturday during college football season. Coach, there's a lot of players out there though who have a different favorite day.
Yeah, I saw this when we were discussing this, but I remember when I first I started hearing all that matters is Tuesday. And you go get your ass kicked in, and then all that matters is Tuesday. And that's payday in the NFL. And I remember, a coach told me that. I was like, what? And then, you just got our ass kicked in. And
we used to get
all that
paid
matters
on
is
Friday.
Tuesday, Mark. What's that?
I thought we used to get. I think it's different for each team because I think we used to get paid on Friday. That's why that song hit different. It's Friday. And some teams pay you bi-weekly, so the check is a little bit bigger, but you wait a couple weeks. And some people pay weekly. When I was in New Orleans, it was bi-weekly. So the check, you waited longer, but the check was fatter.
Which one did you like? Did you like the fat check or did you like multiple checks?
Man, I like that. I like that weekly when that thing hit. Ying. Each week, just
Each week. All right.
Well,
I'll never know.
To close this conversation, I think there's different forms of motivation that's available to all of us. And survival is none stronger. That's when you see moms pick up cars off of toddlers. That's where you see people protect their home. And then you see people from really a tough situation. And that is it. To survive in the game of football and take care of your family. And it's fun to coach guys like that now.
Yeah.
And that's not a reference to people that they have nothing to fall back on, because I've coached Tebow and Bosa's have plenty to fall back on, and then other great players have, but you get that cat that this is it, and it's also heartbreaking when they get cut or when they're not as good as they'd hoped they'd be and they try for those coach, because you want that you start cheering for that player, get them in position to have some success. So that's the ultimate form of inspiration, motivation, survival.
Man, we'd all love a locker room full of those cats, right? Those are the dudes you want on your team. It's time now to get strapped in, presented by NHTSA. And we're going to kind of carry on this conversation. Not wearing your seatbelt could cost you a ticket or your life. Don't risk it. Click it or ticket. Again, that message brought to you by NHTSA. So we're talking about players that went into the portal looking for a new home, right? And there's some staggering numbers in here. Courtesy of On3, 3,973 players entered the transfer portal in the 2 open periods since the conclusion of the last season. I did some math here. 2,204 players, that's 55%, found new FBS schools, all right? So 55% stayed in FBS, whether that was a higher or lower team. 110 withdrew, all right, which left 1,659 players either not finding a new home or transferring to non-FBS school. So everybody thinks
Mm.
this portal is this magic elixir out there where there's going to be more money and more fame and a bigger program and more playing time. But the reality is a huge percentage of these numbers don't, quote unquote, upgrade their game for whatever reason that is, and however they are looking to, quote unquote, upgrade. And there's some blame to be passed around here, Coach. And I think number one, there's some bad representation out there beyond just that third uncle that nobody knows. There are people out there that are in the business of making money, and they can only make their money when they're doing something for a player.
And Mark, this is not a shot on agents, because there are some incredible ones. Like any walk of life, you come across agents that save people's lives, that put them in great financial situation. I've experienced it with several guys, and I've seen it with players. But I've also seen the opposite. An agent's responsibility is to inflate the market, and the only way that agent gets paid is if there's movement or that player signs something. And so if I'm, the established agents, the guys that have been around a while, those are the guys to me that I think, man, what a great guy. I mean, they are really putting this player first because they can. Then you have like all walks of life, you have an agent. We just talked about survival a minute ago. There's agents out there that are just trying to break in. I'm going to go tell Mark Ingram I'll get him more money somewhere, and he has no idea what he's talking about. And here, how about you said almost 1,700 players. That's called residual damage to a situation. And I'm anxious to see that. To me, that's heartbreaking, because I hope the media follows up on some of those players as much as they follow up with Will Howards that have incredible stories after a transfer, or Dylan Gabriel. But what about the 1,700 players that were told, I imagine, because I don't think when you're that age.
That's the thing, Coach. Yeah, every player's got a different story, right? Like some maybe want to go home to an Akron, right, or a Toledo. Some want to go somewhere else to find more playing time. So you can take that quote unquote hit. But you're right. It's the majority of it, at least the stuff that we talk about, the stuff that's in front of our eyes daily, are these guys who are leaving a pretty darn good program to try to get to a better program. And I appreciate them if they're the right cats, the right guys that are doing it for the right reason, not just doing it because I can go from 1 to 1.1. You know what I love about the transfer portal right now is the military academies. Hey, you can transfer out, you can hit the portal, but the portal only works one way for the military academies. There's no portal to come in to Army and Navy and Air Force. The portal is you as a human being having the academics, having the wherewithal, having the athletic ability. And once you're in there, you are locked and loaded, essentially. And as a coach, you get to build that culture, man. You get those guys, 99 to 100% of those guys, I would assume is close to that number, for the duration of their college career.
Now step back a few years, Mark. As a coach, you could never cut a player back in the day. You couldn't call the player in and said, you have to leave here and your scholarship's gone. Now you could say you're not going to play, we'll keep your scholarship, but they're one of the 85. I've talked to many of my former colleagues, and it's like great news. When that player comes walking in that's not very good or a pain in the ass, and he says, I'm hit the portal, they're like, this is the greatest.
Yeah, they're cheering.
Because they're gone. Yeah. Once a player says, I'm going to the portal, they are null and void. You have a spot available now. So.
Yeah. But like you said, Coach, this all comes down to who is guiding these young men. Where are you getting your information? Where are you getting your advice from? At the end of the day, what is the ultimate goal for a young athlete that's at one of these FBS programs? I'm sure that they want to be successful, and so they can go to the NFL and possibly have a career at the next level, right? So the main objective should be, where do I go that's going to put me in position to develop, to grow, to play, to get me to that level? It shouldn't be, where am I going to go that's going to pay me more than this dude that's sitting to the left of me because he's a true freshman. I've been here for 3 years, and he's getting paid more than I'm getting paid. So, because at the end of the day, if you put the work in, if the results show and your work and everything, your blood, sweat, and tears, and it pays off and you get the results on the field, I promise you, you're going to get your worth. You're going to get compensated the value that you want. But everyone wants instant gratification right now. No one wants to go through the hard days, the competitive days. They want to find the easy way out and leave to see who is going to give me who's going to guarantee me playing time right now? Who's going to guarantee me $500,000? No, Go to the place that best suits you. That's gonna. What's your ultimate goal? Is it go to the NFL? What is it? You know what I mean? Because that's what you have to focus on. What is my ultimate goal? And if I put in the blood, the sweat, the tears, and the hard work, and I get the results that I want on the field, you will get compensated for it. So quit trying to shortcut it. Quit trying to leave. Go here to here to here to here. Stay where you at. Work your butt off. If you have a legit reason to leave, go ahead. Do a leave. But make sure you have a plan. You know what I mean? So I think that's the end of the day. Where are these young kids getting their advice from? And what does this person want from you? Do they want truly the best for you? Or do they want to benefit from you leaving?
I see, like, Nico's the most famous of the stories out there where I always tell people this is going to be one of those deals a couple of years from now. They're going to say, now, whether it be father, whether it be third uncle, or whether it be an agent. Now, tell me again why I did that. You know, why?
Well, Coach,
let's go back here and
Coach,
review what happened.
Yeah.
Why did I just do that? Because a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old, all due respect, they're not equipped to make that decision. They can't. That's why they call parents parents. That's why they call coaches coaches. Someone's got to advise and help them that's been through the ringer a little bit. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you find yourself in a really bad situation. You're going to be like, what in the hell did I do that for?
But Coach, you can go back even 1 year. Coach, you go back even 1 year to Isaiah Bond, University of Alabama. He's their number one receiver. He goes to Texas, transfers for whatever amount of money. He gets a Lamborghini. He goes there.
Jeez.
Doesn't have the season that you think that you're going to have. Then you go to the draft and you go undrafted from a guy who was the number one wide receiver. You were a number one wide receiver at Alabama. So like there is several people who are showing you like what not to do. You know what I mean? It's not always greener. You just don't always chase the money. You chase the opportunity and the platform you have to get to the next level. The ultimate goal for Isaiah Bond was to get to the next level. And he went undrafted. He's there, you know, but he should have been a top 2-3 round pick. You know what I mean? So like you said, man, it's going to continue to be examples of this. And it's all about the people that they're getting advice from. You know, you got to go to it's just, what we going to do, Coach? What we going to do?
Here's the dudes, Mark, that I like in college football now are the guys who maybe started here as like a 3 level and through a year or two at college boosted themselves up to maybe, let's say now they're a 4 level type talent and they get those overtures from other programs. There's another interest out there and they decide, no, where I am is the right place for me.
Yeah.
If I'm a coach, those are the cats that I'm super excited about coaching. If I'm a teammate, these are the guys I want to surround myself by. Josh Hoover, a quarterback at TCU, who I think we're going to be talking a lot about next season, is one of those guys. He had people pulling on him, and he said, you know what? I'm pretty good here in Fort Worth. And you look at his numbers, what he did last year, he's more than pretty good. He's almost elite type quarterback. These are the type of players that I think programs can build around and stick around, man. Stick around. You don't need to always be hustling after a year or two. But sometimes
you're right.
It is worthwhile to move, right? Sometimes you got to leave, but sometimes, guys, those country roads call you back, man. The country roads say, you know what, Rich Rod, come back home to West Virginia. Remember, Rich Rod, 01 to 07. Head coach of the Mountaineers, guided them to 4 final top 25 finishes in the AP poll. He left, and he's back. Mid-December last year, returned to Morgantown. He has been busy. The Neers, they lost 51 dudes in the transfer portal. Mark, guess how many they brought back in?
Tell me.
51.
51 out, 51 in?
51 in. Our triple option conversation with Rich Rod. It took place earlier in the spring, and that's coming up next here on the triple option. By the way, Pittsburgh fans, you might want to listen to this one.
Stirring it up.
Light it.
If you love Wendy's classic Frosty flavors, we have got some big news for you. There are all new Frosty Swirl and Frosty Fusion flavors. So, yeah, it's the same creamy treat that you've always loved now with a flavor refresh. So what are these new flavors?
Well, Stoner, thanks for asking. There are a lot, so I'm just going to list them, okay? We've got the Frosty Swirls, strawberry, brownie batter, and caramel. Then we've got the blended Frosty Fusions, caramel crunch, Oreo brownie with swirl thick brownie batter sauce and crunchy Oreo cookie pieces, and Pop-Tarts, strawberry with a street strawberry sauce and chunks of crazy good Pop-Tarts pieces.
You know your flavors. Not to mention that, yes, you can still get your classic vanilla. Try them all and find your favorite.
Are you gonna be a strawberry swirl girl, a caramel craze fanatic, brownie batter buff, Pop-Tart strawberry fanatic, Oreo brownie stay?
These are all really, really good questions, Mark. Anyway, whatever flavor you're craving, odds are we've got a Frosty for it. So check in for sweet treat time with Wendy's, all new Frosty flavors. A refresh on a classic, gotta be Wendy's. We all know what speed dating is, right? Well, if you're the owner of a growing business, what if there was a feature like speed dating only for hiring? In other words, you could meet several interested, qualified candidates at once, all at a designated time.
Well, Rob, I have good news. There is. It's Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. You can post your job today and start talking to qualified candidates tomorrow. And right now, you can try Zip Intro for free at ziprecruiter.com/option.
Zip Intro, it gives you the power to quickly assess excellent candidates for your job via back-to-back video calls. You simply just pick a time, and Zip Intro does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Enjoy the benefits of speed hiring with new Zip Intro, only from ZipRecruiter, rated the #1 hiring site based on G2. So try Zip Intro for free at ziprecruiter.com/option. Again, that is ziprecruiter.com/option. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. Welcome back to the Triple Option presented by Wendy's. Rob Stone, Urban Meyer, Mark Ingram II. And hey, you know what, guys? Who says you can't go home again? Not Rich Rod, man. Rich Rodriguez, the now two-time head coach at West Virginia University, joins us, man. And coach, it has been so fun to watch your career. I know some of the pockets have been more fun than others, but man, when you had West Virginia going in the early 2000s, that was absolute must-see TV. And I was so happy for you and what you guys succeeded at Jacksonville State to give yourself the opportunity to come back home to West Virginia. But in the end, what made you and your family decide that a return to West Virginia was the right move for you?
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. Since I left, I've been out west in the desert, been in the bayou, been in the hills of Alabama, everywhere in between. But it was, we absolutely loved our time at Jack State. We had transitioned up from 1AA to 1A. We were having success, going to bowl games, won the conference and all that. And so I have been perfectly happy just finishing my career out there. But when this came open, it was like, we were close the last time we were here. I think we can win a national championship. I hadn't seen the facility since I left, and they did a fantastic job with our facility. And so all the pieces are in place for us to have a chance to win it all. And ultimately, that's it. This is my last stop. It didn't take me long. Sometimes you take a new job, and it takes you a while to acclimate to yourself, know where all the bodies are buried and the traps are laid. It didn't take any time. One day I knew that because I'd been here, done that. So it was an easy transition from that. The only hard part is I think I've got two players on the team that have started games. That's it. So we got a whole new roster, but it's been fun. The best part is that the facilities are in place now. I know the town, I know the school. I got a great staff put together, and we're constructing our roster every day. So we'll get after it and see what happens.
Hey, let's go. I'm not, Mark and Rob don't even know this, but Rich Rod and I go back to the 80s. And Rich started this, he was at, I believe, Glenville. Wasn't it Glenville or something like that?
Glenville State
And you
College,
started doing the style of offense that I was real intrigued by. And then I was at Notre Dame, and Dan Mullen and I, we take the job at Bowling Green after studying a lot of Rich Rod, and Coach Rodriguez doesn't get enough credit, as I don't believe we do, but there was really no template for what you were doing. When we started the spread offense at Bowling Green, Rob and Mark, that it's not like, let's go study these other teams. It did not exist. That's what I try to tell people. And the whole idea about reading the defenders and all of that, and the tempo that Rich Rod uses. So are you still, I can't wait to see, I didn't see you at your previous job. Obviously, we're going to see you now. Are you still running that spread? How much different is it 15 years ago, 20 years ago?
Yeah, there's a lot of new elements to it, but the core of it, Urban, would have been the same that you came with Dan, 30 years ago. And Urban came for, now most guys come for a day, Urban stayed for like a week. That's because I was feeding him. I was feeding him. Also, he was, hell, I couldn't get him out of there. And the worst part about it, he goes back and takes our stuff and does it better than we were doing. I'm like, hell, we got to turn around and stay Urban now because he took our shit and made it better.
So every think about that. Every year we went to each other's school for 10 years.
That's right. We did. We went back and forth, and it's been a blessing. But the core of what we're doing, the tempo part of it, I still think is a non-negotiable. We're going to do that. I think it's the most overlooked factor in football is conditioning, and we want to make it a factor in every game. And the spread part is still there. We're a lot more 11 personnel than we used to be 10 personnel. Now it's 11, but our 11 is our tight end is all over the place. He's not just he's attached, he's detached, he's more of a bigger athlete. But the base of what we do of playing with 11, having our quarterback be a factor, be a willing runner, is always going to be the core of what we do offensively. Because that guy at Jack State last year, we had a guy, Tyler Huff, was probably a 4.7 guy, but he was a willing and a tough runner. So he might not have got 30, but he was going to get 10. But they had to defend him. And the pace of it, the tempo of it, every day I think about how can we go faster? How we go faster. The genesis behind that is that, teams aren't used to doing it and used to seeing that. We want to do that as fast as we can for 3 quarters. We have a 2-score lead in the 4th quarter. Then we're going to milk it and take the clock down and win the game. So, but the tempo part of it, we're faster now than we were 5 years ago and 25 years ago by far.
Coach, what's your favorite TikTok dance?
If the guys could dance like you, I probably will allow it. And they didn't complain. Actually, I had a couple players say, "Coach, this is embarrassing. They're dancing in our own locker room. They think it's we're all
they think it's cool."
Yeah,
I'm with you on it, Coach. I'm with you on it.
But my whole point is, this is my point on the dancing part. Like people say, well, you're limiting their opportunity to make money. I'm like, make money. Do you think somebody's going to pay their ass to see them dancing in tights on TikTok? You know how I want them to make money? Be good at football.
Right.
Really good at football. And now you can get paid here and at the next level if you're really good at football. I'm not going to pay you if you're really good at TikTok dancing, but I'll pay you if you're really good at football. You know what I mean?
I love it, Coach. I'm right
What's
behind
TikTok?
you, man.
I'm sorry, I don't even
It's some
Coach,
bull crap
don't go
where
there,
they be doing all
Urban.
type of little dances on social media.
I would like to see Urban Meyer's reaction if he was at Ohio State or Florida and his players were in tights, doing a choreographed dance, which, I'd be like, are you kidding me? That 10 minutes that he spent right there could have been 10 minutes in the weight room. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, Coach. I'm with you. Hey, you right when you right, and you right about this one. I'm right behind you on this TikTok stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, what's life in the Big 12 going to be like for you and West Virginia this upcoming season? And where is the Big 12 kind of in the hierarchy of college football in this day and age?
What's interesting to me is that I probably know the Big 12 better than most other leagues because most of the teams in there I played when I was at Arizona. Like half the Pac-12 is now there, and then we played BYU a couple times as well. So I know a lot of those teams or their programs, but every year is different. Arizona State went from last to first last year, and we'll be picked somewhere near the bottom. I don't say we're going to be first, but there's going to be. It's not there was one team that's just going to dominate. I think it's going to be kind of wide open and probably going to be that way for a couple of years. So our expectation is to win and compete for the championship every year, including our first year. This will be the hardest year, without question. The hardest year is the first year. But that being said, the Big 12 is pretty wide open, I think.
We did a big noon. Penn State visited West Virginia last year, and I coached at West Virginia when I coached at Notre Dame, and we played West Virginia. And I remember that crowd back when I was at Notre Dame. And then last year, and Neil Brown was such a good dude. He had that great quarterback. I picked him to win the damn game, and that just didn't happen. How far off are you?
Well, there are days like this morning's practice that I was like, gosh, I thought we'd be further ahead. But I'm pretty critical anyway, looking at after every practice. So I'm trying not to make all the judgments now. I do think the guys have a good attitude. I think they've bought in. They ain't got a choice, but I think they're trying hard. It's just I like to say my roster is set, but we got another portal period coming open. We got another handful of guys that aren't here yet. So there's still too many unknowns for me to know where we're at. And there's so many guys that haven't played. I mean, hell, two guys have started, have started in the whole roster. So it's a little bit of different dynamic, but I got to, again, the staff is in place. We have all the stuff that you need to have to recruit them. Facility wise, all the stuff I wanted to get done got done while I was gone. So the facility wise is here. And I think you probably saw it or most of it. Beautiful. And then we're going to be in the rev share business. We're going to have enough that we can fill out a roster and pay our guys that have earned it in a pretty good clips there. So I think that's we can get there quicker than maybe in the old days where it take you a couple, 2 or 3 years. But now, is it all going to happen this first year? That'll be the hardest challenge.
Hey, Coach, man, I feel like we have a small connection because I remember, and I'm from Michigan. I remember you took the job in 2008 at Michigan, and it was kind of like late in the signing period. And Michigan never offered me a scholarship. They didn't even recruit me. And when you took that job, Michigan started coming to the school. You said Fred Jackson to the school and kind of had an offer for me. And I always appreciate
it. Didn't you? Damn it, Tom.
Well, you started recruiting me a week before signing day. Like,
I might still be the coach there if you'd have said yes.
Well, no, I appreciate you, though, because you believed in me even when Michigan didn't all them years. But no.
But I do remember watching your film, and it was like, what's the problem? What are we waiting on? You know what I mean? And Fred, my running back coach, he agreed the same way. He's like, yeah, what the heck? This is a no-brainer. Like, sometimes you got to watch a guy's film, and it takes you, 10, 15 minutes. And sometimes you watch it, and it takes 10 seconds. You're like 10 seconds. What are we waiting on? But anyway.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But no, after coaching at Jacksonville State, Coach, what are it's a new day and age, NIL, transfer portal, all this. So you have a unique perspective from going from Jacksonville State now to West Virginia. What are the lower level programs going through with NIL and transfer portal, and is it sustainable?
Yeah, like last year, Jack State, we had a pretty good second year. First year, being eligible for bowl game, we went to a bowl game, won the bowl game, and then all of a sudden, we had a handful, maybe 7, 8 players that got moved up, went to a Power 4 teams, just got bought. Yeah. And we knew it was coming. And so we had 60 new players last year's team. And so when we started off 0-3, everybody was kind of panicking. I'm like, we're going to be okay. It's just taking these little guys, most of them hadn't gotten there till the summer. It's taking us a little longer to acclimate them. So I learned that we better speed that process up. And once we got on the roll and those guys got comfortable with the system, and they kind of took off. So I think the group of 5 is going to have – everybody's got turnover now, but I think they know that you're going to lose a guy. I remember talking to Coach Saban about this a couple of years ago. He said, if you sign a really good player out of high school, and he's going to play really good for 1 or 2 years, somebody bigger school is going to take him and poach him up. And I said, yeah, but at least we had him for 1 or 2 years. So that's kind of the approach you're taking. Like, if I can get a guy for 1 or 2 years – and he moves on, I don't want that to happen, but at least I had him for 1 or 2 years. So I tell our formula here, I tell our coaches, I said, I don't have like so many high schools, so many portals, so many junior college guys. Get the best players you can get. If they got 4 years to go, that's great. If they only got 1 year, well, we'll take them. But we just got to get the best players you can get. And then our culture has to stay consistent. Everybody talks about that stuff. Urban knows what I'm talking about. But do you really make your guys adhere to your culture? Do your coaches make sure that is the standard every single day, every single rep, everything you do? That's for us is non-negotiable. And people say it's old school, whatever. I think it's just coaches being coached, coach doing their job. I say players. I never knew what a players coach was. I'm like, shit, coaches coach, players play, administrators administrate. I mean, that's our job. I told my team this morning, I said, we are hired to coach you, to make you better than you thought you could ever be. And I said, that's the way we're going to do things here. And good players want to have it that way.
Has anything changed in your culture format from your first stop at West Virginia to where you are right now in Morgantown?
Here's what's the difference. I was telling a group this last night. I said 25 years ago, Urban Meyer, Rich Rodriguez could tell a guy, hey, run through that wall, and he'll run through that wall. Now they'll still do it, but they want to know why. And if they don't give the right answer, they'll say, well, that ain't what it says on Google right here. The damn guys are smarter than us. They're walking around with a computer, so you better know why. You better know why. This is the why. And so I'll tell them, so this is the why. But I'm still going to coach you hard, but sometimes you got to explain a little bit more. but you can't sacrifice. It's like there's our guys. I tell our coaches, if there's one play in practice or a game, but in practice especially, because that's where football teams get made, where a guy is loafing or he's soft, and you don't say something when you see it immediately, you've created a problem. It has to be immediate. It ain't like, well, I don't want to upset him right now, or I'll remember about it. Like I say it, and then I see it, I say it, then it's over with. You know what I mean? Like, you have to address it every time, not most of the time, but every time.
What's been an unexpected, pleasant, or negative surprise about returning home to Morgantown and taking the program back over again for a second time?
It's a fair question. I don't know if there's been a whole lot of surprises. I think, everybody, they'll assume, well, he got hired because of what we did here the first time here. And I know that was a little bit of that, but I would like to think we got hired because we won at Jack State. And if we had lost at Jack State, nobody was going to call me.
Right.
But we won in a tougher situation at Jack State, and so that allowed us to take this move. And everybody, it doesn't bother me if people want to bring, the excitement of the 2000s back, and we had the Pat Whites and Steve Slayton and Noel Devine, all those guys, because they were great players. But what we want to have back is we had really, really good players that played really hard. And it didn't matter, who got the credit for it or anything like that. And so that has always been the staple of our programs, and that's what's got to be the staple going forward.
Yeah, tell them, Stone, what we got for them.
All right, Coach, we've been peppering you with questions, right, for the last, whatever it is, 15 minutes. So we like to give you the opportunity to throw one at us. Usually it goes to the two other guys, which is totally fine. It's the way it should go, to be honest with you. So you have free reign to fire off a question at the three of us right now.
I appreciate that. This is what people say. Well, they want to. I said, I'm not the same coach I was 20 years ago. I'm not the same coach I was 20 days ago. I'm not the same coach I was a year ago. I better be better now than I was then. But when my players get better, I want to be better. I'm a better coach now than I was the last time I was at West Virginia. But anyway, so that's my question. And you guys may not want to do it. But you see it out there in this new era of transfer portal, NIL, unlimited free agency, all this kind of stuff. The teams that you guys have covered or coaches you've covered that have had success, what's the common factor, other than having really good players that they've bought? What's the common factor to those teams that have been better than everybody else in the last 2 years?
I'm going to answer that first. I think it's a no-brainer. I think with this NIL and what I witnessed the Wolverines do and the Buckeyes do the last 2 years, you got grown-ass men in that locker room. My best teams were when I had men, not boys, in the locker room. And you look at the Wolverines and Buckeyes, those kids all came back. So, it's not the 17, 18. You got 21-year-old dudes that have been through the war. So I think and then I started reflecting back as I'm watching these teams. Well, my best teams are the same way. I had the Pouncies, I had these, guys that didn't put up with any shit. And I mean, the locker room was the locker room because they were grown men. And I think that's the way I know Penn State's trying to do the same thing this year because a lot of those kids came back. Where in the old days, they all left because they had to get paid. Now they're getting paid.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I agree with Coach. I think it would have to start with the culture. You talk about what Michigan had, they had a culture. You talk about Ohio State, they had a culture. The guys in that locker room, they were leaders. They policed themselves. They held each other accountable. And so when you have guys who have a standard, and the standard isn't set by only the coaches, the standard is set and executed and upheld within the locker room with each other, I think that's what I've seen the past 2 seasons. It's only my second season being able to cover Big Noon college football with my guys right here. But those 2 years with Michigan and Ohio State, you had grown dudes, like you said, Coach, who were alphas, who upheld the standard. They knew the standard. They been through the standard for 4 or 5 years, and they weren't going to let somebody come in and not live up to the standard and, compromise what they came back for, which is ultimately to win a national championship. So I think it was the locker room and them being able to execute what the message is from not only the coaches, but they policed it and enforced the message within the locker room themselves.
Probably had a culture where guys love football, not like it.
Yes.
Loved it and needed it. If you take it away from them, it broke their heart, right? I mean, that's kind of, I tell guys, I mean, it's different dynamic, but I said, in the Midwest and down south, you see dudes that just love it and need it. If you threaten to take something away from it, it crushes them. Some other guys just like it. They may like the the fame, the attention, the money, whatever, but they don't really love football.
Right.
And hopefully you get I guess you guys have probably seen you get the really talented teams that love football, just love getting after your ass. You probably got what you need.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you, brother.
Well, we appreciate
Coach,
your time, Coach.
I want to throw one date at you. September 13th this year.
Yeah, eat
week
shit,
3.
Yeah. Yeah, eat shit, Pitt. Pitt's the worst. I say too many 4-letter words. There's none that's worse than PITT.
Oh. Eat shit, Pitt.
This is why I love college football.
This
is why I love having Rich Rod back and in our domain and in the Big 12. And Coach, you've been an absolute pleasure to cover and watch from afar through the years. You've been just one of my favorites. And I'm so happy that we're this close. We're this close to getting back to West Virginia, man. Coach had a hell of a time in West Virginia last year. Now, he became a big fan of Morgantown and company. We got to get our tails back there, man.
Urban, I'm expecting to see you, brother.
I'm the one that had the Mountaineer and the musket outfit.
That's right.
on. That.
You too, you're welcome as well. Everybody's welcome.
Hey, man, week 3, let's get Big Noon to Morgantown for the backyard
Bring
brawl.
them to Morgantown. We need to have you here.
All right.
See you,
You're in
Rich.
charge of the dinner reservations.
Thanks, guys.
Coach Rich Rodriguez, welcome back to Morgantown, and thanks for joining us this week on the Triple Option.
Appreciate you guys.
Light it.
Driving without a seatbelt could cost you everything. But despite that, there are still drivers on the road who just won't buckle up. Some of those drivers will be pulled over and they'll be given expensive tickets by law enforcement. Some of the drivers not wearing their seatbelts will be involved in crashes. Some will survive, and some won't. Wearing your seatbelt could be the difference between making it home to your loved ones and not making it at all. Every day, when you get in your vehicle and decide whether to buckle up, remember that it is the single most effective way to protect your life in the event of a crash. Make it home safely to the people you care about. Don't risk it, click it, or ticket. Paid for by NHTSA. This postseason, Bet MGM, authorized gaming operator of the NBA, is making first field goal score wagers more exciting with Second Chance. With Bet MGM's Second Chance promotion, you'll get your stake back in cash if your first field goal score scores second instead. Yeah, that's right. Simply bet on any player to score the first field goal during any playoff game, any game, doesn't matter. And if you're right, you win. But if your pick scores second instead of first, you get your stake back and you get it back in cash. Grab the chance at getting your stake back at BetMGM. See BetMGM.com for terms. This U.S. promotional offer not available in D.C., Mississippi, New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. For New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. For Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. For Massachusetts, 1-800-327-5050. For Iowa, 1-800-BETS-OFF. For Puerto Rico, 1-800-981-0023. For West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. Subject to eligibility requirements in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Welcome back to the Triple Option presented by Wendy's. Rob Stone, Mark Ingram, Urban Meyer back here with you. Now time for Treat of the Week presented by Wendy's. Try Wendy's new Frosty Fusions with flavors like Caramel Crunch, Oreo Brownie, and Pop-Tarts Strawberry. Have you had the Pop-Tart Strawberry yet? I'm taking the kids there.
Pop-Tart Strawberry.
We're going to bang out some Pop-Tart Strawberry. Pop-Tart Cinnamon. Now that's the call. You're welcome. You're welcome, Wendy's. All right, the only thing that tastes as good as a Frosty is knowing you're going into a Hall of Fame. Coach in December is going into the College Football Hall of Fame. Mark, you'll be there right after him. I know it, but we want to congrats you, Mark, on being inducted into the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. That happened, what, like a week and a half ago?
It was like, it was 2 weekends ago, perhaps.
Yes.
2 weekends ago? Birmingham?
Yeah, but in Birmingham, Alabama Sports Hall of Fame.
Did they erect a statue of you out there?
They have a nice portrait. Hold on. Let me show y'all.
You got a nice portrait?
Hold on. Let me get my stuff.
Let's see this portrait. Do, 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 do.
Right. Here we are.
Ba-da-da-da-da. Let's see it.
Hey, friends. Y'all ready?
I'm ready. You got a medal.
Got my medal.
Put that bad boy on. There you
I'm
go.
going to leave it on for the segment. Got my medal. And I got that. Bah!
Oh, that's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
A big old head on that cat. Look at that.
It's a big head. There's some traps there. Where'd those traps go, Mark Ingram?
No neck Ingram.
Hey, man, it's just the traps up there, man, so hide the neck. You know, I got a neck. I can turn left and right. You know what I mean? But, man, what an amazing event. Shout out to the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. Man, it was an amazing event. I didn't know what I was expecting going into it, but, man, what a first-class event. Hundreds of people at the banquet. Everyone's super welcoming. And when I tell you, when you want to be a part of a Hall of Fame, this is one that you want to be a part of. Let me just tell you some of these names, Stoner. Joe Louis.
Yeah.
The heavyweight champ of the world.
Let's go.
Paul Bear Bryant. John William Heisman, who the Heisman Trophy, that trophy is named after. And obviously you got Bear Bryant, you got Jesse Owens, you got Hank Aaron, Joe Namath, Bobby Bowden, Pat Sullivan, Ozzie Newsome, Bo Jackson, Carl Lewis, Charles Barkley, Mia Hamm.
How did Mia? Oh, that's right. I think Mia might have been born in Alabama.
Yes. Mia Hamm.
Yeah.
Sean Alexander, Nick Saban, Evander Holyfield, another heavyweight champ, T.O., Dabo Sweeney, Jorge Posada, coach, Ben Wallace, DeMarcus Ware, Phillip Rivers, Justin Tech, Roman Harper, Roddy White. So I'm talking about... Are you reading
every name? Are you reading every name that's in that Hall of Fame?
No. That's just some notable.
That is loaded, man.
You talk about a real Hall of Fame, man. Shout out to the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. I appreciate y'all nominating me. I appreciate y'all inducting me. And it's much love, man. Roll Tide. Alabama's a special place, a great place to me, always home. So,
how many Hall of Fames are you in?
Right now, only 2. The Greater Flint.
Only 2?
Hall of Fame.
Deuce is only in 2 Hall of Fames?
Yeah, the Great. I just stopped, 3 years ago? This is my 3rd season out.
I know.
So Greater Flint Sports Hall of Fame. Alabama Sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
The college
not the University of Alabama, just the Alabama.
Not the university yet.
Yeah, so the universities to come.
Yeah, universities to come. College football.
So you're into 2 to come.
College football is to come. New Orleans Saints to come.
Pretty good stuff there.
Yeah. So we still brewing. We still working. College football.
Coach,
College football Hall of Fame wanted to hate on your boy. They didn't want me to go in with Coach Meyer and Coach Saban. They wanted to hate on your boy.
No, because that gives us a 2-year party window.
Yeah. They didn't want a Heisman national champion running back in their Hall of Fame this year. There's other running backs in there that don't have those accolades, but we'll save that for later. But yeah, man. Shout out to the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. They know what the deal is. So let's go.
They know.
Roll damn
They
tide.
know who to put in the hall.
Yeah,
damn straight. All right, can we take out the crystal ball?
You can clip that and say that to the College Football Hall of Fame too if you want to. You can clip that and say that to them if you want to.
We're gonna yell at them in Vegas in December when Coach goes in. The Triple Option Crystal Ball, it is brought to you by Bet MGM. The NBA playoffs are heading into the deeper stages of the playoffs right now. And here's an offer for basketball fans that you won't find anywhere else. Pick the player you think will score first in the game. If it's not your player, but he scores the second field goal of the game, you get your stake back in cash. The NBA playoffs have been a ton of fun. Let's talk about Notre Dame right now. What a season they had last year, right? Marcus Freeman getting his troops to the national championship game in just year 4 of his time in South Bend. So what is in store this coming season for Notre Dame? All right, we got the crystal ball where BetMGM currently has the over-under on regular season wins set at 10.5. Okay, plus 130 for the over, minus 155 for the under. 10.5 regular season wins. Remember, 11-1 in the regular season last year. That only loss, the home one to Northern Illinois. They were able to kind of pick themselves up off of that early loss and continue to kind of run the table up until Ohio State. They did have ranked wins over Texas A&M, over Louisville, Army, and Navy. Then they went 3-1 in the college football playoff. Here comes the schedule, Mark, and you had a quick little look at it, and there's some potholes out there, and it starts week 1 in Miami, man.
You got that crystal ball, Stone? That thing looking a little
cloudy
today.
A little cloudy.
They look a little cloudy for Notre Dame, and then 10.5 wins.
Well, how about this? Do they get a week 1 win at Miami? And again, remember, these are the things that always give me pause, Coach. When you got a new QB,
yes,
it's hard for me to buy in at this juncture of the season.
It's a
I
redshirt
need
freshman?
to see what you're going to be like. Right. And remember, he's been poaching all these cats from the ACC. And finally, Marcus Freeman kind of has his own in-house QB, if you will. Redshirt freshman CJ Carr looks like he's going to be the guy leading them into a schedule that is definitely challenging. And it starts with a big one on the road at Miami, Sunday, August 31. Do we want to rip through the schedule here, guys?
Against an experienced Carson Beck who wants to prove himself from last year. I'm going to go with the experience in a week 1 battle. I'm going to go with the experience
you're going an L.
of Miami over Notre Dame because I think you have a quarterback of, 3 years of starting experience going against a newly redshirt quarterback.
The other thing, you look at that Miami now, Notre Dame's a much different climate than August 31st in the Deep South. So that's also advantage Miami. I just saw that there at Miami, August 31st. And when I coached Notre Dame for a long time, that was horrible. That was a problem because you're going to have a nice, cool, it's going to be hot, but it's not going to be Miami hot when you're training, getting ready to play that game.
Oh, that August 31st in Miami, that's going to hurt you.
Oh,
that's going to hurt you. All right, so that's one loss. We're agreeing on one loss. That means they only got room for one more.
Correct. And guess who they have week 2? Home, Texas A&M. You want to put that one on the back burner?
I'll put it on the back burner. I'll put it on the back burner right now.
We can put these on the back burner.
That's impossible.
That's your 0.5. That's your 0.5.
Right, there's your 0.5. The next one, home to Purdue. Let's give them a win. Congratulations. Then they dip their toes into SEC land on the road at Arkansas. Sneaky tough game.
At Arkansas is always shiesty, man. At Arkansas, woo pig suey, is that what they say? Woo pig suey?
Yeah, they've always got something up their sleeve.
I don't have them winning 10.5 games, bro. I see 2 losses on this thing somewhere. Just in the first 4 games.
In the first 4 games, they could be 1-3.
Yes. I don't have them.
Very easily.
I'm sorry for the fighting Brady Quins. I don't have you guys over 10.5 wins.
Brady likes the hate, though. Brady says bring it on.
He does.
Brady doesn't run.
I love
from
Notre Dame. I
hate.
like Marcus Freeman.
Yeah.
I like the Irish. I like the floor leaf clover. I like Rudy.
Yeah.
I like the gold helmets. But I don't see I don't see 11 wins. I gotta go under in the crystal ball. I gotta go under.
It's a really top-heavy schedule as far as front-loaded. After Arkansas, home to Boise State.
No more Ashton
We know what
Jeanty.
Boise. Right. Correct. The Boise State is not the same Boise State we saw last year. But again, this was a Boise State team that won the Mountain West, went to the college football playoffs, and they're home to NC State. NC State depends what Wolfpack team you get. Home to USC. By the way, USC, great recruiting class. There is some real needed momentum building in Southern Cal. That's another
question mark.
A half one. Put it over here in this. So we've already got
at BC
2 to 3 questions at BC. I'll give them that one, but we know history between those 2 programs is messy. Same with the next game.
Navy.
Home to Navy. Messy. Navy complicates things. At Pitt. We know what Rich Rod thinks about Pitt. Home to Syracuse. We think Syracuse is going to be better, and then they close at Stanford. I think that over-under at 10.5 is a stretch.
I'm going to take a different swing. There's only 3 teams on that roster that will have the same checkers as Notre Dame.
That would be
when
Miami,
you look at the sideline,
A&M, and who?
There's only 3 teams
USC.
that recruit that level player: USC, A&M, and Miami.
Yeah,
and USC is still a year away from being that level, in my opinion. A&M, I don't know enough about. I got to study them. Miami's going to be a tough one. So I think Vegas is right on it with 10. I don't see 11. No.
10.5.
10.5. So if you say 10,
I know.
under.
That's why I said that's
they
what
got
I'm going
the
to say
hook.
under.
Yes, I got 10 wins for Notre Dame, not 11. I got 10.
I have
wins.
9.
I got 9.
I got 9.
Basically, we all taking the under.
Yeah,
The Bet
I think
MGM
that's
under.
the safe bet right now. But guess what? If the kid comes up and balls week 1 at Miami, we reserve the right to change our position on Notre Dame.
I mean,
CJ
we are
Carr
in May, so
can ball right off the bat.
I'll renege my statement immediately. We're in May.
Right? Slow your roll, man. So hey, you can fake the funk in May. You can't fake the funk in late August and September. Coach, let's close with a really interesting nugget that just happened recently. Major League Baseball announcing that the lifetime ban for Pete Rose and the shoeless Joe Jacksons of the world has been essentially lifted, and they are now eligible for the Hall of Fame. I would say too little, too late, but better late than never.
I think it's very cowardly. I'm a friend of Pete Rose. He was my idol growing up. He was our family's idol because he played the game. I was a kid when he played, and everybody emulated Pete Rose. That was the era when you ran to first base after a walk. That was when you went diving into second base when you hit a double. That was this effort. You talk about energy. He gave energy. He didn't take energy, as we talked about earlier.
He was not a mouth breather.
I'm so pissed off about this that, there's people who have done some horrific things that are in the Hall of Fames and all that. And I mean, Pete Rose, it was bad. But he bet on his team to win games. And that's dead wrong. But he should be in the Hall of Fame when he could, hug his family and celebrate this. So it's a cowardly, that bothers me because this is very personal with me. I grew up in Ohio and the Big Red Machine, and I became very good friends with Pete Rose. And I love the guy. I love what he stood for as far as baseball. And was he a broken person? Did he make mistakes? He did. I got news, Mark. There's a lot of people out there like that. So I know he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, I'm sure, immediately. But damn.
Yeah.
Then when I saw that news, I'm like, the guy died a month, whatever it was ago. And I don't know. I don't like it. I like the fact he's going in.
Yeah. Just don't like how it was
Agreed.
handled. Yeah.
No.
And the timing. Yeah.
Mark, he changed the world.
Yeah.
I mean, you obviously weren't around in the 70s, but he changed the world.
Any athlete knows the story of Pete Rose.
Oh, man.
Any athlete knows the story of Pete Rose.
The front of the jersey was always dirty, right? There was always the dirt on the front and the upper thighs. He was diving.
A quick story
and
with our
hustling.
family. We all played sports, and that was, my father had the same rules. Don't have to be the best, but you certainly outwork and out hustle everyone. And the word hustle, Charlie Hustle. And my son, Nate, was really struggling in baseball one time. Real quick story. And I was a head coach at Florida, and he was in Jacksonville, and he didn't know I was coming to the game. And our rule was just you sprint on and off the field. You sprint you sprint everywhere. And he was really struggling and, playing ninth. He ended up being a great player in high school. Batting ninth and playing right field and not very good as a little kid. And I show up, and I see him walk into the outfield. And the whole ballpark heard me scream, "Get your ass running." And so we got home, and he had to run laps around the house for an hour because one thing you can't do as a Meyer is not hustle.
That's Coach,
and
I'm in youth sports right now with my kids, and I don't care.
You hustle.
One thing that you can control is your effort and your attitude. And if I see lack of effort and attitude, I'm going to lose my split out there at 7U baseball.
Hey, how about I was at the Orioles Pittsburgh spring training game here in Sarasota, and I see Major League Baseball players walking on and off the field. I see a guy not run out. He hit the ball. They threw him out at first base, and he thought it was a foul ball, and he didn't even leave the batter's box. He walked back to the dugout. I kind of looked at Shelley. I said, I got to go. I don't want to watch this. I don't want to watch that kind of effort, attitude. You're a Major League Baseball player, pal. Sprint your ass to first base.
Bro, Coach,
hustle on and off the field. Do just get me.
My son,
so
we watched the big leagues. We watched Major Leagues, and he'd be like, "Dad, why isn't he running to first base?" I'm like, "Because he thinks he's gonna get thrown out at first." But he's like, "Yeah, he could have probably made it."
And Mark, by the way, when they're thrown out at first base, it's like by this much, right? It's like bang bang.
Yeah.
And like, hey, you know what? Just another little extra charge, little faster out of the gate. Guess what? You're probably safe.
You get 4 to 5 at bats in Major League Baseball. You can't hustle,
right?
I mean,
if you get 4,
is that exhausting?
Yeah.
If you get well, here's what I'll say: that turnout in Cooperstown when Pete Rose goes in is going to be epic.
I got
an idea. It's going to be red. And it is going to be
triple
loud.
option right there with it.
Triple option in Cooperstown.
Triple option road trip to Cooperstown has just been booked.
Let's go.
Wells, go find us some sponsors. Let's take it on the road again. Make sure to follow, subscribe, rate us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as across social media. You can find us at 3X Option Show. Thanks as always to our wonderful sponsors, Wendy's, Bet MGM, ZipRecruiter, and NHTSA. And we will see you again next week on the Triple Option.